Okay, self-doubt is kind of the killer of dreams in a lot of ways. How can people overcome self-doubt when it comes down to taking on their weight loss journey, when it comes down to weight loss, when it comes down to nutrition, exercise? We've got Jennifer Cohen here. Can you give us a breakdown? What is self-doubt? How do people get around it? How is it good? How is it bad? I want to mention I popped a 30% off discount link down below for Thrive Market. Now, Thrive Market is an online grocery store, but it's not like a regular grocery store. It's set up by different diet categories. Okay, so you've got keto, you've got vegan, you've got paleo, you've got different diet categories. So it allows you to get the best quality foods, okay, no preservatives, no garbage. You can stock up your whole house, not just your pantry. They have sustainable meat and seafood options, so you can stock up your fridge. They're working on really cool options as well. So you're looking at just everything you can get in a store, essentially, that's gonna be in frozen or in the regular section, delivered to your doorstep. And with this link, you save 30% off your entire first grocery order plus a free $50 gift. So I've also created my fasting bundle, which is things that I recommend people get for breaking their fast and also for sustaining their eating period with the right kind of foods. So that link is in the top line of the description right below this video. I definitely recommend you check them out. They are a sponsor on this channel, but they have been for like 5 or 6 years now. And it is definitely where you want to be going as pretty much your one-stop shop, almost entirely your one-stop shop for what you can get delivered to your doorstep for your intermittent fasting routine.
Well, self-doubt to me is the reason why most of us don't even make any attempts at getting what we want in life, right? Because we get in our own way the most. We have fear of failure, we have fear of rejection, so we don't even try. So the way we eliminate self-doubt is by being bold in our lives. And we need to build this bold muscle, which to me is a skill. So people always say, well, if I'm not bold, how can I be more bold? And the truth is, you don't have to be born bold. Boldness is a skill that you can harness like anything else in life. And you do it by making these bold moves daily. Like if you want to get fit in the gym, right? Or you go to the gym and you're consistent and you practice it. It's the same with being bold. You have to work it, you got to practice it, and you harness it. And that's really the first step. And then from there, you do it over and over again, and you eliminate your self-doubt by constantly doing these bold moves daily, where then you're stopping yourself from the stop. So you're stopping yourself from the start. So we then train our brains to go for things, to ask for what we want, to make these goals, and then try to crush those goals.
So what do you mean when someone needs to be bold? Be louder, be more, like what is bold?
So it's funny because boldness has a really negative connotation, right? People think being bold is being brash or aggressive, rude. And that's really like that type of verbiage to me is so contrary to how I see bold. To me, what bold is when you stand up for yourself, and when you ask for the things you actually want, and when you actually cultivate and you're deliberate about doing things. So what I'd say to people is chase what you want, don't just take what you get. And a lot of times in life, we just acquiesce to what's convenient and we just take the good enough, as opposed to being much more deliberate in creating the life that we want for ourselves. And the way we create the life that we want is by being bold and asking for that, and being unabashedly okay with being audacious. So to me, like having the audacity to think that you can, to having the audacity to think like, why not me? To me, that's how you live a life that's more authentic, and that's how you self-actualize in the world. And how you overcome self-doubt is by being audacious and living boldly and practicing the skill of boldness. And you do that by doing something daily, making bold moves every day to get better at being bolder. You don't have to be born bold, but you have to practice being bold as you would practice any other skill in the world.
Okay, I want to come back in a minute to like tactical things that people can do to practice being bold. Mm-hmm. But I also want to come back to what is self-doubt at its core. Is self-doubt different than negative self-talk? Is self-doubt different than self-love? What would you consider self-doubt?
Self-doubt to me is when you think that you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you're not handsome enough. Like you think of all the things that you are not enough in versus thinking that, why not me? Why, it can happen to this person. Why can't it happen to me? Having self-esteem, having the confidence, having the self-assuredness to try and attempt at something. It's the way we speak to ourselves and how we genuinely think. Not this nonsense of affirmation talk, like I'm wonderful, so therefore, yes, I'm wonderful. No, it doesn't work that way. To me, those affirmations are a bunch of nonsense if we genuinely deep down don't feel those things. So to me, what real self-doubt is the opposite of self-confidence. And so if you don't want to have self-doubt, you have to build up self-esteem and self-confidence. And you do that by putting yourself in situations where you speak up for yourself, where you create these little bold moves where you are actually getting closer to who you really are by asking for what you want, as opposed to just like sitting back and just accepting what's in front of you. It's about making a commitment to yourself and fulfilling that commitment and seeing that little feeling of accomplishment that you did it. And it's not these big things that make you confident. It's like these little moves that accumulate over time and compound over time. And that is literally how you get yourself out of your own way and become the person that you want to be.
So the nice thing about self-doubt and tackling self-doubt is you're sort of tackling the engine itself that would allow you to propel yourself forward. Like self-doubt is almost like a faulty system in the engine. It's like it really does prevent the engine from driving you forward. Whereas like if you talk about affirmations, you talk about this, positivity and things like that, you're just sort of masquerading the issue, and you might be able to, I always say, prefrontal cortex your way through a little bit of stuff and kind of willpower your way through some stuff. But that's such a finite resource, like our ability to willpower our way through something. And if you actually conquer that self-doubt, then motivation and all that just comes naturally.
Well, let me say this. I agree with you. First of all, I don't think that willpower or even motivation are things that people should lean on for true success in life, right? Because they will flail, right? You can have motivation in some times in life and then other times not. You can have willpower until it breaks, right? Those are not things that you should stand on to actually get from point A to point B. To me, it's more about discipline, if you want to know the truth. Discipline is a much better thing to rely on than motivation. And you build discipline by creating habits that you do day in and day out. And through that, it becomes your second nature. And therefore, that's what happens. Self-doubt to me is the complete opposite of self-love and self-confidence and self-esteem. So if you want to eliminate self-doubt, the only way to do that is to build up the self-esteem, the self-confidence, and the self-love. The only way to do that is not looking outside, but looking inside, and then creating ways for you to do that by making little moves. Like the confidence is built with commitment. You make a commitment to yourself, you execute on that commitment, you accomplish that commitment, and voila, you have a little bit more self-confidence today than you had yesterday. You keep on doing that over and over again, and the neuroplasticity in your brain eventually changes. The self-talk changes from negative to positive, and then that's how you start getting out of your own way.
What are some sort of rapid fire, bold moves that people can make? Because it might be a lot for people to swallow to think like, oh my gosh, I gotta suddenly just be bold. Like, what are some examples of just little habits, little bold things that people can start doing right now, like right after they watch this video?
Right after they watch this video, I want them to go to a restaurant, and when they order their meal, ask for the salad dressing on the side or ask for vegetables instead of the potatoes. Not because they're big moves, they're very small, but a lot of people don't even want to ask for those little things. So my thing is, if you can't get comfortable asking for those little things, how are you going to get comfortable asking for the big things? And even today, people are still uncomfortable with that because they don't want to make a fuss. They don't want to be rude. They don't want to put someone out. So they kind of hold those things in and just take whatever's available or whatever they get. Like, how many times have you gone to a restaurant and the food ended up, they gave you food that was cold, like cold soup, or like the food was lukewarm when it should have been hot. And you're like, yeah, you know what, instead of sending it back, I'm just gonna like eat it. I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to be that nuisance of a person. And you just kind of eat it. Instead of doing that, maybe like next time, hold your hand up and like ask the server, and always be polite and nice, but like stand up for yourself and tell them that the food is cold. Something even as small as that makes a difference, and that compounds over time. It could be another example. And remember, these are small little things that daily happen that build up that bold muscle. You can ask, call your self-service provider. We've been paying the same bill, your cell phone bill, you've probably been paying the same amount for like years already without knowing any of the plans that are available, right? What if you called up your cell phone provider and said, listen, do you have any better deals for me? What do you have available? What are some of the things that you have? You would be shocked at what happens. 9 out of 10 times, you will get a cheaper phone plan than you had before by just making that call, by just making that ask. It's doing these things that are like putting yourself in a situation where you're like, you are standing you're standing up for yourself. You're asking for what you want. You're curating what you want. Go to a local coffee shop and ask if they have any local discounts. These are just small little ways that we can start being a little bit bolder in our life. Like most people, by the way, when they go on dates and they have relationships, it's because someone asked them out, and so they said yes, and then they went on their merry way. Versus being much more deliberate and conscientious and being like, I really like that person. I'm going to make the move. So what I say to people, be the first one to make that move in anything. When you want a job in life, right? Don't just like go onto LinkedIn and see what's available. Be much more deliberate, right? Like look at a company that you really, really respect, that you really like, and why don't you call that company or like contact that company? So my entire philosophy is about this idea of designing and curating a life that is much more authentic to who you really are versus just walking through life accepting whatever just became available to you.
Yeah.
That's what really it's about.
You're almost like being boldly curious, and asking, not being afraid to ask questions either. And
no,
I think
not
that also,
exactly. Curiosity is a major sister or a cousin to being bold. A lot of it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed, even just in the scientific realm, I've had to put aside a lot of where I was lacking confidence to be more bold and reach across the aisle and have different opinions and different nutritional mindsets come on this channel and try to open my eyes to different things. And it's amazing what's on the other side of that.
Yeah.
It's amazing what those little steps of boldness in that category have done for my levels of self-confidence, where now I'm willing to try different things. And oh my gosh, my world has opened up, and it's like it's unlocked this whole different section of the brain. And I guess to bring it right back to home for people that are working on weight loss, people that are just trying to make a change, a lot of times it is that self-doubt that's standing in their way. They don't realize it. They think, okay, it's just difficult. It's tactfully difficult. Like I cannot do these little things. There's too much going on. In reality, if it's important to you and your confidence is high enough, you will do it. And when your confidence is high enough and you've overcome that self-doubt through these little bold moves, walking into the gym and concerning yourself whether people are looking at you or not becomes a much smaller thing.
Well, not only that, I think we get stuck and we get in our own way all the time. If you really want to break it down, the reality is nobody's looking at you when you go to the gym. Everybody is too concerned with themselves and checking themselves out that they're not even paying attention to you. And so we create these stories in our heads of what's happening and what people are thinking and everything. When people are so preoccupied with their own lives and what's going on with them and staring at themselves, they're not even paying attention to you. So if we could stop that ability to kind of create these like untruths in our own brain brain that create all this self-doubt in ourselves, we would be all so much more better. We would be way better off, right? Like, no one cares what you're doing. Like don't do the compare game. And we change these things a lot. Like we are our own worst enemies. And that example of what you just said is exactly what happens all the time. We think that we don't look as good as the other person. We don't have the same abilities. Our bodies are not genetically okay to do that. The reality is, you have to think to yourself, why not me? As opposed to like, why me? Why me? Well, it's not going to happen for me. Be audacious, be bold, and think, why not me? If that person could do it, why can't I? That's how you have to think about it. And you get that way by building that self-confidence and building your self-esteem by making these commitments and then following through. The follow through in life is so important. It's like so important for your own sense of self and for your own sense of character. We were saying earlier before this about one of my biggest pet peeves in life is when people say and then they don't follow through. It's like, what kind of person are you? What kind of character are you when you're unable to even follow through to yourself or to that value system? Don't be that person. If you are a person of integrity and a person that really wants to be authentic and live this certain life and be a certain person, the sky's the limit. You can do all of that. You can be all of that by just following through. Make the commitment, follow through, execute, and you'd be amazed at how you build that self-esteem.
That's perfect. I think just if people can literally make a contract with themselves, and sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Is literally writing down a contract. If that's how your brain works, having that commitment, having that follow through, and getting that dopamine hit when you actually do complete something that you set out to do. Maybe it's been so long since you've ever done that you don't realize what it feels like, that it feels good to follow through.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go to the gym for 15 minutes tomorrow. You actually do it. You check that box. Don't lie to me when you say that, that doesn't feel good, right? That feels good. You check that box, and it's those little things that add up. So, Jennifer, where can everyone find you?
They can find me on Instagram, The Real Jen Cohen, TikTok, all the channels, YouTube. They can find my book at Amazon. They can go to jennifercohen.com, my website, all the things. And they can sign up for my newsletter too.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, all that I'll link down below in the description. And Jennifer, thanks for hopping on.
Thank you.